Narayan Ayurveda and Yoga Academy. Dosa are naturally gluten-free thin crepes popular throughout South India. Today we're going to learn how to make dosa from scratch. Many Indian grocery stores will sell you a ready-made dosa batter, but you can also make your own using the right mix of rice and dal for your dosa. Today we're going to make a gluten-free variant using idli rice and yellow split mung dal. Idli rice is available at most Indian grocery stores, especially those in areas where there's a substantial South Indian population. Yellow split mung dal is fairly widely available. It's also one of the easiest dals to cook. Let's take a closer look at the idli rice. Notice the very small grains. This is a particularly sticky type of rice, and it has special properties which are excellent for making dosa and idli. Note that urad dal is traditionally used for dosa. Mung dal is used here and is better for kapha prakriti, but the same instructions apply if using urad dal. The first step is to measure out 2 cups of dry yellow split mung dal. We're going to measure it out into a dry container. Along with 3 cups of our idli rice. That's a total of 5 cups of dry ingredients. Now we're ready to wash. We're going to wash our rice and dal mixture very thoroughly. Washing 3 times is recommended. We'll just first fill up our bowl with cold water. Make sure there's enough water so that there's about twice as much water as there is rice and dal. Now, we're simply going to slosh the rice and dal around in the cold water and give it a chance for any kind of pieces of dirt or rice husk or anything else to float up to the top. We're going to pour it off very slowly, and anything that's floating up at the top, we'll just let that come off with the dirty water. Repeat this 2 more times. Washing thoroughly is good. Although modern production processes in India are internationally certified, and you can even get organically produced rice and dal from India, there also tends to sometimes be just a little bit of dirt and other things remaining. So we want to get rid of all that. Of course, if there's any residual pesticides in our rice and dal, this will also help reduce that amount. When the water begins to come off clear and there's no more residue floating up to the top, we're done washing. Usually 3 times is going to be sufficient. Here you can see there's no more cloudiness coming in the water, and there's very little that's floating up to the top. So we're done. We're going to try to drain off as much as we can of the wash water. We're going to use filtered water to let it soak, since the filtered water that we soak it in is going to become part of the batter. We want to let it soak and have a good amount of filtered water. It's going to absorb a lot of the water and it will swell up to about twice its original dry volume. So it's important that the bowl that we soak it in is big enough to accommodate twice the volume. So we never want to have the bowl filled more than halfway. If there's excess water for soaking, we can always pour it off when we're done. But we don't want any of the rice and dal to get dry as we're soaking. We want to make sure everything is covered by water for soaking.
What is it?
Now we've filled it up, we're just going to cover it and we will let it sit. It usually takes about 12 hours before the rice and dal mixture soaking begins to ferment a little bit. And now, after about 20 hours, you can see that there are some bubbles coming on top. This means that we're ready for the next stage of preparing our dosa batter. Pour off the excess liquid, then blend it up in small batches in a high-power blender or food processor. Blend the mixture thoroughly using a high-powered blender or food processor. Blending in small batches makes it easier to achieve a nice homogeneous batter. You want to have a batter that's about the consistency of a thick milkshake. You want to use some of the same water that you used for soaking, which has a little bit of the fermentation in it. Once we've blended everything up, we're going to add 5 teaspoons of salt. That's 1 teaspoon of salt for every cup of dry ingredients. This will give it some taste. It should not taste salty. The salt is merely a taste enabler. And we'll mix the salt thoroughly. This batter will have to be diluted before we use it, but this is a good consistency for storing it in the refrigerator. Cover the batter and keep it in the refrigerator. Congratulations! You have made your first batch of authentic dosa batter from scratch. You can keep it in the refrigerator for about a week. It may actually last longer than that. We usually do this on the weekend. It's a weekend ritual, and we're able to have fresh hot dosas on demand all week long. Thank you. The next video will show you one method for cooking dosa.